Welcome to Nerdy Nakama. Hey everybody, here we are with another episode of Nerdy Nakama, and today we're going to be discussing One Piece Chapter 972 that was just released, it was released a few days ago, a little early this week, but the official was just released today, which is kind of what we like to wait for.
Yeah, you can't always trust the unofficial ones, especially with a week like this, such a big chapter. Ooh.
Yeah, two things to point out was the first one was they originally the chapter they'd put out, they said Orochi said kill the whole family, and it's not much of a difference, but in the official it said kill the clan.
Yeah, I mean it's not too big of a difference, but it's a big enough difference to show that he's out for anyone and everyone connected to them, not just them.
Exactly. Start of this chapter had everybody realizing what was going on, everybody finally realizing the truth, but it's a little too late. Because Oden got pretty hard to boil, though.
Man, Senor Pink must love him at this point.
Oh, man. He's hard to boil for sure.
Always reminds me of Senor Pink a little bit as well, with how he was a ladies' man, you know?
So hard, but the only one he wanted he couldn't have. So did we ever find out, was it Russian or Lucian?
I think it was Lucian. I'm not sure though, because the official translation still has Zolo instead of Zoro. Yeah.
And that's obviously not right. So, well, it was nice to see all the citizens finally turn around and realize what's gone on, even though it's too late. But dude just started putting arrows into his own people, and if that does not publicly reveal Orochi's intentions for ruling, I don't know what else would.
And honestly, seeing how massacred most of these people were, if they even spoke out, they rushed to the stage, they all got killed. I'm real surprised that Wano hasn't had more revolts than it already has, you know?
Well, and they made the point that there was at one point a few people tried to rise up because they knew they were getting older and they probably couldn't do it later on, and I think they got struck down, right? They mentioned that pretty early on in Wano. I think.
They mentioned first it was a couple old people talking about I'm too old now. If it happened a couple years ago, I definitely would have. And then also with Ashura Doji's people, they half of them decided to rush the castle anyways a couple times, and all those graves.
Yeah, just God, these mass murderers. And all of a sudden, they just decided the most cruel thing to do is to boil this guy alive. And surprisingly, he is still holding them above his shoulders. But at one point in the chapter, they mentioned it got to 700 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ooh.
Well, they said 700 degrees, and I took it as Fahrenheit because it was an English translation.
Yeah.
Maybe they did a conversion, but for anyone else listening that doesn't know Fahrenheit, it's 371 degrees Celsius. Normally, they deep fry at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 191 degrees Celsius. So it's double what you deep fry food at.
You got the math man over here. I've never been good at calculating those differences, but God, that is painful to even think about. I know when I'm cooking fries and I get popped
twice the heat of what you cook your fries at, that you deep fry your chicken at KFC. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But I think what was really good about this chapter, I feel like it completely eliminated Raizo from being a traitor in my mind. And I'm beginning to think no one's the traitor, but I feel like Raizo was cleared. In this chapter, he was just too emotional, and he had too much of a part in telling Oden his goodbye.
Yeah, it's kind of getting harder and harder to think anyone is the traitor as these chapters come out, but there's one quote
something
of Okiku,
had to get revealed from somebody,
one quote of Okiku that I still want to hold on to because I think Okiku is the traitor. It was
that's where I'm at too, honestly. But
Okiku said something oh, you can withstand the boiling, you can keep going through it, and I don't know, I took that and I think that could be turned to Okiku wanted to watch Oden suffer more instead of giving up like he almost was.
Because of, Izo and everything, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's my only hope for her.
I mean, had Oden not hung on to Whitebeard's ship, Izo wouldn't have felt the need to hang on as well, and just continued dragging behind until eventually not ever coming back to Wano because he stayed on Whitebeard's crew. And I just feel Kiku has not let that go at all. At all.
Honestly, I don't think I would have let it go, seeing my brother like never come back just because some guy that like saved us when we were younger. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't be okay with it myself.
It'd be a lot, and it's also one of the first times that Kiku's on his own. So maybe, without Izo there to kind of even things out, Kiku made some bad, difficult choices.
Yeah, especially with how like they were alone since they were kids, and Izo was the only one there for Kiku.
Exactly, and Izo may have been the rational one.
Seeing how Izo was dealing with Odin, the Chad back in his prime, I think he
Chad.
Definitely was the like level-headed one out of the group.
I would think so as well, and it was just, to me, it's still weird how Kiku just brushed everything off. I mean, Wano gets little information from the outside world. How would Kiku have known?
The only way that Kiku would have figured out was when the two minks came back, and that's it.
Yeah, when they dropped off Toki.
The only way that Kiku would ever have known, and still to this day hasn't seen his brother again.
Yep. So who knows? We'll have to see what happens there. But I'm definitely glad to see what transpired. Like I said with Raizo, I mean, it kind of in my mind confirmed him and not being the traitor at least, and
yeah.
Everyone else is kind of already out of the running. Kiku as well had that sad moment, but I feel like without Izo there's just a lot missing from Kiku's story.
Yeah, and one more thing that I did want to say about like basically the same page was like back in like the beginning of Wano, they were talking about how Odin was the villain with the samurai who wanted to open Wano's borders, and they were like teaching that to the children, but like I wondered how they figured out that he wanted to open the borders, how he went about that, and like literally on his deathbed, in his death pot, he brings up he wants them to open up the borders,
Yeah, and I mean, he made it pretty obvious that the Kozuki clan is the one that closed the borders to Wano, but it sounds like closing the borders to Wano was to protect them from the control of the world government, and that they needed to have the right people in charge to be able to open the borders up at the right time.
Yeah, without the perfect circumstances, the borders would always be closed.
And Kaido and them are getting in the way of fate.
Yeah.
In a way. If that makes sense at all, because, Wano should... I mean, the Kozuki clan obviously kept passing down that the borders need to stay closed, but I would think that it's also been passed down as to why. But Odin didn't learn it until he'd already traveled the world either, so I'm not sure, honestly.
Yeah, it would be cool to like learn what the Kozukis were supposed to be passing down, but I feel like we're gonna like learn that later on when like Robin reads the poneglyphs.
I mean, obviously he had learned some stuff because he could read and write in the ancient language.
Yeah.
So there's obviously some things that got passed down. Just kind of curious as to what the extent of that is, because he says that he didn't realize or learn these things until after going out with Roger and Whitebeard, but what if it wasn't something that was revealed on these adventures? It was just something that after going out and learning certain things, he was able to put two and two together.
Thinking about it, he never actually went through that like a whole rite of passage thing to become Shogun, so maybe there was something else that he was supposed to be taught by his like father, and he was supposed to learn why the borders were still closed and when they needed to be opened or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't learn it until he went out with Roger and learned everything that way.
Yeah. He learned it on his own terms, like a real Chad.
But I'm wondering if, I'm just wondering if, there was anything that he learned from Roger that he maybe took his like subtle lessons from his family and stuff and was able to put two and two together and see, hey, maybe this is how something happened. This is, why we did this, and it's something that it took, both learning the heritage and the outside adventure to come to.
Yeah, like if I didn't get raised.
What if it was just lost in the world? I mean, what if it was just lost in the world and had Odin's dad been the one to go out to the world, and find this out? Well, then he would have relearned it. But for all we know, the Kozukis lost some of the things they passed down over the, 900 years.
Yeah, like 800, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's very possible because whenever you pass down information from generation to generation, you always lose some of it. You know, you never get the whole story.
Exactly. Exactly. There's always something missing. So what if it was that, and it wasn't just that Odin needed to learn it from his dad, but his dad didn't even know. And it was just perfect timing with Roger, how he happened to go out and learn everything he did. I mean, it helped everything fit into place. It kind of, I'd say it's like pre-prophecy, where there's a prophecy that everything's going to happen, but whoever's putting this prophecy out there has to know, okay, well, we've got to set everything into motion for this to happen. And part of that is Roger's adventure.
Yeah, I think it would actually be really cool if, like, on Raftel, we see, like, that whole story of Joy Boy or whatever was left that made everyone laugh was basically, like, the telling of the adventure that, like, Luffy is taking right now. Like, the whole telling of One Piece and how Luffy had his adventure and ended up to Raftel. And that's why, like, Roger laughed because it was supposed to tell his story, but Roger, you know, he was too early and it wasn't his story, and it was going to be someone else's just a little bit more in the future, you know?
Yep. That's the other thing real quick too I want to point out is a difference in the official translation is in the one that was put up online a few days ago, they mentioned that Joy Boy was coming back. And there was a few people who made videos saying, so I wonder if Joy Boy himself is coming back. You read the official and it says nothing more than the people involved in this war, and it completely kills that. I mean, that's a whole major implication that could be taken the wrong way, that is not true, that people have now made statements and stood behind.
Yeah, I actually learned, what was it? Before Whole Cake Island, like during Whole Cake Island is when I started reading the officials because, like, I started trying to get into debates and everything about what's going on and like power scaling and everything, and like I would bring up the quotes from the unofficial and some people would just laugh at me and I'm just like, what are you talking about? So like I go and I read the official and then it's almost a completely different story when you really think about it.
Yep. It is, I mean, certain words have certain effects.
Yeah.
Like I said, Joy Boy coming back is a whole different thing than, the major players in this war, because with Toki's time, all of a sudden people are like, holy cow, is Joy Boy hanging around the corner somewhere behind a tree?
did Toki send Joy Boy in the future and then she go into the future to meet Joy Boy?
Exactly. And it's one of the other things too with Toki's fruit. Does she land like wherever she started?
I think so, yeah.
Like she goes 30 years in the future and she's on the same island in the same spot with her feet planted, but 30 years in the future.
That actually just made me think, like, when Toki was here in the future, she was relatively close to Wano.
Mm-hmm.
So like it would make sense that like she started in Wano, and every time that she almost got like caught or something bad happened, she would travel into the future and keep trying to move forward, and then something else would happen. So it would make sense that she didn't get too far from Wano.
Yep. So I don't know, I was kind of wondering about that, like how much control does she really have? But they also kind of made it sound like when Kinemon and them got sent to the future, it was from Odin's castle, and that's where they appeared.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
We might get another chapter of the actual like flashback of them running into the castle, but I kind of doubt that. I feel like we're at that point.
No, I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that we'll get it yet. But I do think at some point there's gonna be, because like whenever they showed Toki sending everyone to the future, it was just some flames and a silhouette.
Yeah.
I think that a little bit later on, it's something that could be brief, maybe just like 1 page, maybe 2 pages out of a chapter,
Page 1.
Something like that, where you see, someone's telling the story, like Kinemon's telling the story again of when they got sent up here, and we see everything in less of a silhouette fashion, but we see everything more for what it was, and we see that's when we see, Momo go one way, Hiyori go another way, because while we know that happened and we've seen the moment where Toki sent him forward, we didn't see Kappa guy and Hiyori split.
Kawamatsu the Kappa.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Kawamatsu. So we didn't see him and Hiyori split. You know what I mean? Like we saw the flashback where they got sent with Toki in the fire. and her silhouette and everyone, and then all of a sudden they appear 20 years later. But we didn't see, like I said, we saw everything in silhouette. We didn't see everything for what it was. We didn't see Kappa
Yeah.
and Hiyori dip
And
the other way. We didn't see the swords in their hands already. You know what I mean? We still have a whole lot more to see, I think.
And like the more that I talk to like Nick from the group, I really get that feeling that Toki actually is still alive, and that's what we're waiting for, to see everything that happened then. We're gonna see Toki, and she's gonna explain exactly what happened and how she escaped or something.
See, I
like
personally
that.
don't hope that Toki's still alive, but I'm
I'm not.
beginning to lean more and more to the fact that she might be, just because I don't see her. I mean, Odin really wanted her to see this out, you know, and she made a point at the end of this last chapter to be strong. So I just
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. I can almost see her staying alive to make sure that everything gets carried out the way it should be.
Yeah, she specifically said to look ahead to 20 years into the future, because the way that comes off to me is like she's going to make sure like that it really does go the way it's supposed to go, like how Odin envisioned it, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it was so sad to finally see, you know, Odin come to grips with everything that was going to happen. And then all of a sudden Orochi decides to say, hey, let's go firing squad, when he knows that he's not going to be able to get him.
Yeah, and what I really liked about how he actually died from a gun is like it's not too impossible. He literally was sitting there for an hour, boiling at 700 Fahrenheit. You know, like his skin is weak, his body's weak.
Maybe Celsius. I'm only saying Fahrenheit because it's the English translation. The heat coming off of the water itself and the fumes, I believe is the word they used, were enough to burn you. But you know what I loved is whenever he threw everybody off, dude, they all hit the ground running, like immediately broke their chains like it was nothing.
They were ready, man. They are the squad.
Obvious, so it makes me wonder, why didn't they have C Prism Stone handcuffs on? Is it something that's just not popularized yet in the world?
I don't know. I feel like Wano was really good with the Sea Prism Stone already, but like they might have had them on, and after all that heat and the boiling, it made the Sea Prism weak. Maybe that's how you could actually get through Sea Prism with like fire and stuff.
That's actually a very good point, because they have to melt it down.
Yeah, they have to shape it somehow.
To form it. Exactly. You have to craft it. So that's a good idea. I never really thought about that it could have been the heat there. But obviously, we didn't see the Devil Fruit users being weak at all either.
Yeah, you're right. Who?
Sea Prism Stone is one of the hardest substances in all of One Piece, and even if it was kind of broken down a little bit, but Kinemon had him on. He's got a Devil Fruit. Raizo had him on.
Did he already have his Devil Fruit?
Yes, because they were sent to the past immediately after all this. I mean, they go and they get sent to the past, and we know what happens.
And I feel like there's a couple things that were like just that I feel like we were missing and has been like missed in this whole flashback is like, first off, Odin has not used Conqueror's Haki at all, yet Conqueror's Haki was Odin's special trick and we still haven't seen it. Maybe that's just Oda trying to say, oh yeah, you don't have to see people using Conqueror's Haki for them to have Conqueror's Haki, like Zoro and Blackbeard.
Yeah, I definitely think Blackbeard has it. I don't think it's going to be very strong Conqueror's Haki, but it's going to be Conqueror's Haki nonetheless. Compared to Luffy's Conqueror Haki, let's put it that way. Zoro, granted, I know it was... Did he use that Dragon Breath technique in the manga? I don't think he did. That everyone's been talking about.
Dragon Breath?
It's Dragon Breaker, maybe something. People.
Oh no, he didn't use that.
That's what I thought. And so, I mean, I feel like the show is maybe helping build up to it, but it's obviously not canon what they did, so you can't also apply it at the same time. But I definitely think Zoro has Conqueror's Haki. It makes sense. Yeah. And here's the thing, Sanji's royalty, but I fully do not expect Sanji to have it. I mean, if he does, in a way, I won't be surprised.
I could see Usopp having Conqueror's Haki before I could see Sanji having Conqueror's Haki, no lie.
Sanji, I feel like he has the upbringing, he has the heritage for it and everything like that, but he literally just does not have the will of a conqueror. He doesn't.
He kind of gives up, and he went up against Luffy in like favor of making sure everybody was okay instead of just believing in his
Well,
captain.
exactly, and he has no desire to do anything but cook and find the all blue. And Luffy wants to be king of the pirates. He wants to be the best at something. Zoro wants to be the strongest swordsman. He wants to be the best at something. Sanji just wants to find the all blue. While he would be the first one to do it, it's not really the best at something.
Yeah. He just wants to be happy, honestly. Like, if you look at his dreams, he just wants to be able to do what makes him happy, and both peeping on women and cooking are what makes him happy.
Yeah. And I could do so much with the clear cliff fruit. I could protect nude girls, and I could.
Man, like, I like Sanji a lot, but, like, at the same time, there's a lot of things that he does that I can't help but just think he's like the whipping boy for a lot of jokes, and it's
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I don't know. I'm very shocked that he got a bounty higher than Zoro's, if I'm being honest.
I mean, I get why he did, because Zoro was
Like, I
in
get
like
it
a
won't
completely
stay.
different, country that can't get information out, and he really didn't do anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I didn't expect Sanji's to rise so much, but I forget.
Trust me,
I guess
Zoro's
I forget.
about to go over a billion.
I was about to say the Marines weren't there that hardcore, but I guess I'm kind of forgetting about Morgans and Stussy.
Yeah, Morgan's definitely, bumped up everybody's bounties a little bit. He fluffed them just a little bit, even though all of that kind of happened.
On the word of, I mean, he didn't really do it so much as Stussy, who's a CP0, who thought Luffy was the mastermind and saw everything that happened. But I 100% believe that Morgans wrote everything that he did, not only on on his own want to do it for a news story, but also he wrote it the way he wrote it about Luffy at the behest of the world government, I guess is the best way to say it. But Morgan's, I don't know. I don't think he's a government pig. I don't think he's an underground dog. I think he's just a do whatever's best for him in the moment kind of guy.
Yeah, he literally fought CP0 because he didn't want the juicy details not to be released.
Right
it's
after
something that he just had to do.
Right after, hanging around and palling around with Stussy, who's with CP0, here they are having to fight those guys. And
right?
Morgan's held his own for a brief moment.
Morgans has Conqueror's Haki. Confirmed.
I'm telling you, man, he's gonna ornament up that feather, and it's like a sword.
Is Morgan's gonna be the world's strongest swordsman here in a second?
World's strongest creature swordsman.
Just like world's strongest pirate was Whitebeard, and then world's strongest creature was Kaido.
Wasn't he just the world's strongest man?
They said man a lot, but like, I feel like the Marines really stressed the fact that it was about him being a pirate,
Yeah.
Like,
because honestly, I wonder how strong Dragon is.
Oh, yeah. Dragon, I feel like Dragon might be... Oh, that's actually hard to think about. Is he stronger than Kaido right now? See? that's a real tough one, You gotta really...
I mean, it just depends because we don't really know what Dragon can do. I mean, very obviously, we're pretty positive he has the wind fruit, or gust fruit, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But
yeah, something like that for sure.
By the way, fuck Orochi.
Yep, gotta do the one fuck Orochi a day.
Yep, for sure. One fuck Orochi a day keeps the damn snakes away. Anyways, what was I talking about before this fuck Orochi thing? I got myself
Dragon.
lost.
We haven't seen a lot of Dragon. We haven't seen him fight at all. We haven't seen him do anything.
But Smoker got real scared in the beginning for sure.
Well, Smoker was a weak little kid, man. Come on.
Yeah, he was God to us at that time. I mean, he was the first opponent Luffy lost to. Let's put it that way. He was Luffy's first loss.
But like, something about Dragon is we gotta realize that Dragon ran away from Blackbeard. The strongest person in the verse, Blackbeard-sama.
I hate that guy.
A lot of people do, but can't deny him at this point. He's
you're a fan of Blackbeard like I was a fan of Ramsey, and I just hope that when his time comes, you can respect the way that they make him go out.
Oh, I can definitely see Blackbeard because
he's going out.
And I could see him crying and like sniveling and like all sorts of slimy want to get out of it type of death. And I'd be okay with that because, like, they've already built it, and he's not like the other Ds for sure. And he's going to be something throughout this entire thing. Maybe even hit Pirate King,
Whoa. Careful. careful.
What, you don't think Blackbeard's gonna become Pirate King?
So if he becomes Pirate King, it'll be only long enough for Luffy to come in and take his stuff and the world to recognize Luffy. I don't think that... I don't know. I could see Blackbeard beating him there.
I could see it two ways. Blackbeard becomes Pirate King, and just by basically being the first to raft out, Luffy catches up to him, beats him, takes the title. Or we have something going on where Blackbeard takes over, becomes Pirate King, takes over basically the whole world and brings down darkness to reign upon the world, and Luffy and his crew, one little boat, sailing across the ocean, just like how Vivi said it, bringing a dawn with them, you know? Just like the first chapter, Romance Dawn, Luffy and his crew is going to bring the dawn against the shadows and the darkness that is Blackbeard.
You think it's just Blackbeard, though, or do you think they refer more to Eam when they say things like that, or the world government and the Gorosei? Celestial dragons.
I could see the celestial dragons and all of them being like a big evil, but I don't know. I just have like this gut feeling that Blackbeard is like the final boss, the big bad of the whole series.
I definitely do think that he's the final boss, but I don't think he has really anything to do with the prophecies. I think he's just one of the guys getting in the way.
Yeah.
And he's going to put himself in so many good spots. I think that either before or after this war with the world government, with the Gorosei, the Celestial Dragons, whatever you want to call it, that, like I said before or after, there will be a fight between Blackbeard and Luffy, where for Blackbeard it is him trying to take that spot because he knows that Luffy's the one that's probably destined to do it at that point, but he wants to be it. So he's either fighting Luffy to take that spot, or he's fighting to eliminate Luffy from ever trying to get close to that spot. And for Luffy, it's going to be nothing more than this is for Ace.
Yeah, I could kind of see that, but...
You know, and that's why I think that none of the prophesizing stuff really has to do with Blackbeard. I mean, like, if there's, like, a dark side of it all, like, for, you know, I mean, there's Joy Boy. Well, obviously, you know, I wonder if there was a prophecy at all for maybe other people around him who are trying to help see him fail. You know, like, no matter what you do to sabotage, yada, 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 it'll happen. And...
I don't know. I feel like Blackbeard, I feel like he's kind of thinking that he's the one that's prophesized for it all. Maybe he already knows, like, the true history, and he believes that he's supposed to take that role, even though it's not true and it's supposed to be someone else. I feel like he might be, like, expecting himself to be doing what's right, and it turns out that it's actually Luffy, and that's why Luffy has to beat, like, the false prophet.
Do you think Blackbeard's convinced that he's doing it right, though, or do you think that he knows that he's not?
I don't know. Blackbeard has been on the exact same journey as Luffy basically the entire time, and he's the only villain that's actually been there besides Smoker, which isn't really even a villain at this point. Since Drum Island, then you have his whole going after Luffy at Jaya, and then you actually have one of the only non-off-screen fights in the whole series is Blackbeard versus Ace. For some reason, Blackbeard is the fight that we actually see on screen when it's completely away from the Straw Hats. I just can't help but to see him, like, he went on the exact same route Luffy did. They went to Impel Down, then at Marineford, and then to the New World, and they're going throughout almost every single, like, major point that they need to. Like, well, that, like, really gave them infamy, like the Straw Hats and the Blackbeard Pirates. They both went through basically the same trials, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. They definitely went down the same path, and everything that he had to do, or Luffy did, Blackbeard had to do. Did he ever go to Sky Island? No, I think when he ran to Sky Island was when everything happened with Ace.
Maybe he did go to Sky Island because they have Lafayette, right? Didn't he have wings?
Ooh, fair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. So maybe Blackbeard, like, knew the history and knew, like, which route to take on the Grand Line that was supposed to lead him to becoming Pirate King. Basically, like, a story of Joy Boy saying, oh, they took this route through the Grand Line, and then they did all of this, you know?
But what was left of it after Inaru destroyed what he did?
What was left of... there were multiple Sky Islands because Inaru came from a different one, you know.
Yeah, but he destroyed that one too.
But he had Lafayette. Didn't he have Lafayette before he even became a Shichibukai?
Yeah, honestly, I do not remember. I do think that Lafayette was one of the first ones to help him.
Yeah.
Like, he was the one that went to the world government and said, "Hey, we have an offer for you," right?
Exactly.
So, I don't know.
Blackbeard probably went there before he went to Jaya, and while he was chilling on Jaya, he had Lafayette go do that, and then he found Luffy. Was like, okay, this is the bounty that I needed.
Ah, man, I don't know. We'll have to see. I really hope they put him up in Wano.
I hope Blackbeard does go to Wano, but at the same time, like, I feel like there's a lot going on with like Alabasta and like the.
He's honestly got more to gain from. He's got more to gain from going to someone like Big Mom's right now and getting Poneglyphs.
See, at the same time though, I've had this theory that Blackbeard's gonna get Kaido and Big Mom to like work under him. And I can see it happening if Luffy and crew actually beats Kaido and Big Mom.
Do you think it might be because of his relation to Rocks?
A little bit. A lot of bit.
Yeah, I definitely think that if he were able to get him to work for him, it would definitely be his leverage with Rocks that would get Kaido and Big Mom under him. Even if it was just long enough to like hypnotize him or something. I don't know.
I don't know, I feel like the history that Big Mom and Kaido have with Rocks and how they already were okay with working under someone else, and Big Mom, yeah, she has like the whole thing about wanting to beat out Kaido and everyone else to become Pirate King, but Kaido just wants like a big war, and I feel like Blackbeard can like take both of their energies and be like, okay, Big Mom, you could be Pirate King, I'm just going to take over the world, and Kaido, this is a war guaranteed for you, so if you guys want what you want, you're gonna have to follow me, or else you can't get it.
No, it's fair.
Well,
at the end of this chapter, we finally saw, Toki reading the letter from Odin and her accepting everything that was finally going on, and kind of what leads me to think that maybe she hasn't quite died yet, so she can see off Odin's will.
Yeah. The story hurdles towards the present day, so hopefully next chapter we get is like the last chapter of this act, and we actually get to see the crew coming back before we get some interlude.
Next week, we will finally be back in the present, so we'll have to see what happens.
And there isn't a break that I know of, so I'm excited.
Nope.
Yes.
March 1st.
Let's do it.
Next chapter's March 1st. Hey everybody, thank you for checking out the podcast today, and if you like what you heard, you can always find more episodes on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Please give us a like and subscribe, and always watch out for more content. Thank you.